Hey Reefers, welcome back to Grand Canyon Reefs, and in today's video, we're preparing the tank for vacation 2 weeks after setting it up, and talking about all the issues that happened during the trip. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to enter the free giveaway for a little shop before Zoas, with shipping included anywhere in the United States at the end of this year. And now, on to the video. So I finished setting the tank up 6 days before I was going to be leaving for Las Vegas, which is definitely not an ideal amount of time to set up a new tank before abandoning it for a trip, but I had to make do with the time. And so for the few days leading up to when I was leaving, I kind of went through my checklist of tasks to fully automate the tank, and I'm going to share those with you guys now. The first thing I like to do a few days before leaving is test my nutrient parameters to know where my nitrate and phosphates are at, and if they're slightly high, then I won't use an auto feeder, and if they're low or where they should be, then I'll keep the auto feeder on. And so in this instance, I turned the auto feeder on because they were exactly where they should be. Next, I'll go ahead and top off all of my dosing containers, both my major elements and my minor elements, as well as empty the Trident waste container and refill and make sure all of the Trident reagents are full as well. And I'll do this all while I have my tank sitter watching over me 24/7. I also refill my ATO with RODI water to be able to last the entire length of my trip. And I also like to mix up a small batch of salt water and do a small water change to remove mostly detritus just a couple days before I'm leaving. And after the water change, I'll check and make sure all the leak detectors are in the right locations that I want them to be. And I also add a water level sensor to the top of my tank, just so I know if the water level in the tank or the sump were to ever rise, I would get notified right away. I then check all the permanent cameras that I have set up around the tank and make sure that they all have the right angles, and I set up a tripod and a camera in front of the tank so that I have a clear image of all the fish, corals, as well as my ATO reservoir. I will also say that I normally try to not touch or make any changes to my tank around 5 days before leaving, but given these circumstances, I was only able to leave it untouched for around 48 hours before leaving. And now to enjoy Vegas. That is, until it's the fan. On my second day of vacation in Vegas, I woke up to this notification at 4:30 a.m. While not the end of the world, this did mean that my Red Sea dosers would be not connected and hence not dosing anything to the rest of the tank for the 3 days of vacation. That means a tank which previously gotten over 350 milliliters of additives each day would get 0 for 3 consecutive days. No alk, no calcium, nothing. I immediately checked my Apex and other devices to ensure they were still connected and working, which they were, so it was just the dosers not connected and not working. But thankfully, I was aware of this issue with Red Sea and their Reef app, and had a solution in place before even leaving. This isn't the first time that these dosers have randomly disconnected. It's actually probably the 10th time in around the year that I've had them, and what I've learned to do is just plug them into a cheap controllable outlet so that when they disconnect from Bluetooth, you can easily turn them on and off, and then they'll resume dosing. But yeah, if you've had these Reef products, you know about the issues. So I immediately texted my girlfriend's sister, who I knew would be over in the morning to feed our cats, and I asked her to simply press the off and then on button on a remote controller, and that was it. Problem solved and crisis averted. The dosers were only off for around 3 hours, and they stayed connected with no issues. So now I could relax and finally hit the slots, right? I wish. Through my cameras, over the next couple hours, I could slowly notice the water level in my display was rising, and my ATO had dumped a lot more water into the tank than should have already evaporated. So I turned off some equipment via my phone and walked my girlfriend through how to slightly open the gate valve to lower the tank water level over FaceTime when she came over to feed our cats that night. So crisis number 2 had now been avoided. And now I can gladly say that the tank had no more hiccups and made it through the rest of the trip. Thankfully, when I got back from the trip, there were no casualties at all, other than a very dirty glass. And so the first thing I did after getting back, of course, was to clean the glass. But then secondly, was I tested just to make sure everything was in line, which thankfully that was as well. And lastly, just some tips and piece of advice that I'll share from this experience and what I've learned from traveling away from your tank. Definitely have cameras, the more the better. And also have people that you trust that are able to help assist with small issues with the tank if anything were to go wrong. And they don't have to be reef experts. My girlfriend and her sister know virtually nothing about fish and corals, but I was able to walk them through some simple steps to help fix things that essentially saved my tank. So Samantha and Natasha, thank you so much. And that's going to wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed the content, go ahead and give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to enter the free giveaway of Little Shop of Horror Zoas happening at the end of this year. I'll see you guys next video, and happy reefing!